microsporum. Then another one, trichophyton. Then epidermophyton. So 3 genera belonging. Just 1 second. So microsporum, trichophyton, epidermophyton. Be cautious while doing bits. In botany, you come across another name, trichoderma. Okay? Not now, in the upcoming chapters. So be cautious while doing. Then there is a parasite, protozoan parasite, which causes infection to the reproductive tract, Trichomonas vaginalis. From the name, what you can guess? Which part is affected?
Vagina.
Yeah. Yes, vagina. Can attack men also. So it's a sexually transmitted disease. So why I am telling you all this is, you people do not focus on the options, and similar words if given, you are likely to be trapped. So be cautious. Read all the 4 options, then only go for the right one. So these 2 ruled out. So 3 genera, microsporum, trichophyton, epidermophyton. See, phyte term technically refers to plant. Once upon a time, fungi were in plant kingdom. Now, according to 5 kingdom, they are given a separate status. So, non-green plants in lower levels, we say like that. But now, they are multicellular decomposers. Is 5 kingdom classification done?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Courtney, you didn't come across Living World chapter at all?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
In the introduction classes, I taught about the 5 kingdom classification.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Forgot.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, good. And this is highly infectious, means it spreads very quickly through contact. Used clothes. I said, nah, buy one, get one free. So there will be dry, scaly lesions. Lesions are, which are circular. A lesion is just like a damaged area. Okay, a patch which looks different due to damage of the tissue. Then these are pinkish red, usually pinkish red, and these appear like circular rings. They can attack any area, especially areas which are damp, warm. What do you mean by damp?
Humid.
Yeah, humid. Right? Warm, damp areas. You take armpits. Armpit, you know. Right? So, this is the armpit. Then, so your armpits are warm, little moist. Then, the legs connect to your abdomen here. This region is called groin. Then, it can attack scalp. What is scalp?
The upper part of the head, ma'am.
Hair is attached to skin on the head. That skin, which is at the base of the hair, that is, head skin means are not on the face. Scalp typically refers to the skin that supports hair on your head. అక్కడ రావచ్చు, నెయిల్స్ లో రావచ్చు, ఎందుకంటే నెయిల్స్ లో కూడా కొంచెం మాయిశ్చర్ ఉంటుంది. అండ్ దీస్ lesions will have immense itching, uncontrollable. If you scratch, it spreads. And even between the toes, just I'm drawing a rough sketch. So here moisture is likely to be there. Okay. Then these can spread through used clothes, towels, even comb also. So have your own comb, your own towel, your own soap, right? So by sharing towels, clothes, and the combs, it can spread from one person to another person. And especially in hostels is the most infectious, because in hostels they share clothes, towels, etc. Bed sheets also used. Now, that's about ringworm. There will be antifungal ointments for treatment. Okay. What is the prevention? Prevention,
Not using and sharing stuff, ma'am.
of course, personal hygiene, and then avoiding such contact with such people. Okay. Next, we proceed to protozoan diseases. In NCERT, only 2 diseases are described. One is amoebiasis, caused by entamoeba histolytica. It's a protozoan disease. Sometimes you use the word amoebic dysentery. Dysentery refers to loose motions with pain, abdominal pain. Diarrhea is just loose motions. There may not be pain. Then another one which you already learned in your school level, malaria, caused by plasmodium. Okay. These 2 are described. For malaria, little information in your NCERT. For amoebiasis, only 2-3 lines. But you are going to write board exam in the next March. By the time this COVID may not be there, if at all it happens to occur, you have to answer long answer questions. Okay, long answer questions means you have to write minimum 2 pages. And there is definitely a long answer question from the parasites. And ours is integrated coaching, means you are getting exposure to NEET exam as well as board exam simultaneously. So we have to go into details of entamoeba as well as plasmodium. In plasmodium, 2 long answers, and entamoeba, 1 long answer is there. Ascaris life history, another answer. Ochraria, another answer. So these are 5 questions. Among the 5, 1 is gunshot. I think you already started praying, Bhagavan, no public exam. It was free pass. Ankuntunara? Because you got used, no? Pin drop silence. Now let's see the protozoan diseases list. Amoebiasis. Come on, caused by
Amoeba
histolytica.
Entamoeba histolytica. I said sometimes you use the word amoebic dysentery. That is something related to motions with pain. Now, for this disease, only one human, means no two hosts. Like you take Plasmodium, human is one host and there is a second host, female Anopheles mosquito. But this parasite lives only in the human body. It is monogenetic parasite. Note down meaning. A parasite which completes its life cycle in a single host. Means its reproduction, everything, growth, everything occurs in one human. It may be attacking many, but it doesn't require a second type of host. So such parasites are monogenetic parasites. Single genus they complete. That is single host. Then malaria, most commonly seen disease among protozoan diseases. This is caused by 4 species of Plasmodium. There are 4 types of parasites. Plasmodium vivax. Anybody knows? You can say.
Plasmodium falciparum.
Good. Now we will go into details. We will go into details when I teach Plasmodium. Okay. So malaria is caused by Plasmodium. Now tell me about hosts. One host is human. Another host is
mosquito.
female Anopheles mosquito. Without female Anopheles mosquito, it cannot complete the life cycle. That's why we have to eradicate mosquitoes to control malaria. Okay? If a parasite completes its life cycle in 2 hosts, it is digenetic parasite. It is digenetic. Di means 2, genus, you know. So this Plasmodium is a protozoan parasite which causes malaria. It lives in human as well as female Anopheles mosquito, and this is vector-borne disease. By the bite of mosquito, it enters human. Which diseases, viral diseases are vector-borne?
Chikungunya and dengue.
Very good. Very good. Chikungunya and dengue. In India, yellow feverలు ఇలాంటివి చాలా ఉన్నాయమ్మా. అవన్నీ ఎక్కువ వెస్ట్రన్ కంట్రీస్లో ఉంటాయి. African sleeping sickness, vector-borne, caused by a protozoan trypanosoma but not seen in India. So the next one, African sleeping sickness. This is caused by the parasite Trypanosoma gambians. Trypanosoma gambians. Okay? And this is also digenetic parasite. One host, the first host, primary host is human, and the second host is CC fly. T silent. CC fly. This fly typically is seen in African countries. మన కంట్రీలో కాక్రోచెస్, మస్కిటోస్ అండ్ హౌస్ ఫ్లైస్ పుష్కలంగా ఉంటాయి. దెన్ the name of that, scientific name of that CC fly is Glossina palpalis. Glossina palpalis. And if the conditions are not suitable, like, let's compare with mosquitoes. In which season you find mosquitoes in large numbers, or which is the season for their reproduction?
Rainy season.
Why rainy season? Why rainy season?
And there is
Because stagnant water for the breeding.
Okay. So they need stagnant water for laying eggs.
Laying eggs.
And the larval forms develop in water. సో రైనీ సీజన్ స్టార్ట్ అవగానే మనకి మస్కిటో పాపులేషన్ పెరిగిపోతూ ఉంటుంది. అప్పుడు మనకి మళ్ళీ అటాక్స్ ఆఫ్ మలేరియా రిపోర్ట్ అవుతుంటాయి. డెంగ్యూ కానీ, చికెన్ గున్యా ఇలాంటివన్నీ సీజనల్ గా వస్తుంది, బికాస్ దే ఆర్ లింక్డ్ విత్ మస్కిటో. దెన్ వాట్ ద మస్కిటోస్, దిస్ పారసైట్ డస్, mosquitoes can suck blood of even monkeys also. Do you know?
Yes, ma'am.
హౌస్ బఫెలోస్ ఎనీ వామ్ బ్లడెడ్, వేడివేడిగా ఛాయ్ తాగినట్టు మన బ్లడ్ తాగుతాయి అన్నమాట. అంటే మంకీస్ వి కూడా తాగుతాయి. అలా మంకీని బ్లడ్ తాగినప్పుడు దిస్ ప్లాస్మోడియం గోస్ ఇన్ టు మంకీ. ఇట్ వోంట్ కాజ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ టు మంకీ. ఎనీ పారసైట్ ఈజ్ స్పెసిఫిక్ టు ఏ స్పెసిఫిక్ హోస్ట్. యూజువల్ కొన్ని ఉన్నాయి, ఎవరైనా పర్వాలేదు అనుకుని మల్టిప్లై చేసేవి, రైట్? దే కెన్ సర్వైవ్ ఇన్ డిఫరెంట్ హోస్. ఇక్కడ మంకీలో ఏం హార్మ్ చేయదు, జస్ట్ this will act like a reservoir. Then when the mosquitoes increase in numbers, again when they suck the blood of monkey, plasmodium comes back into mosquito. So ala malli I am back antundi, malli the devil is back laga. అలా మలేరియా సీజనల్ గా అటాక్ అవటానికి రీజన్ ఇది, బికాస్ ఇట్ ఈస్ లింక్డ్ విత్ మస్కిటోస్. సో చక్కగా ఈ పారసైట్ దాక్కుంటుంది అనమాట మంకీలో. రిజర్వాయర్ హోస్ట్ అంటారు ఇలాంటి వాటిని. రిజర్వాయర్ ఈజ్ ఎ స్టోర్. దెన్ ఫర్ దిస్ trypanosoma also there is a reservoir host in Africa. There is an antelope by name gnu. Antelope అంటే కొంచెం డీర్ లాగా ఉంటుంది. Both are not same. Okay. Slowly you are becoming mummies.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You used to respond very well. Are you entering into a state of inertia?
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Be active always. ఎప్పుడు ఉల్లాసంగా ఉత్సాహంగా ఉండండి, because you have feel good hormones in your body when you are happy. మార్నింగ్ లేవగానే మిర్రర్లో చూసుకొని ఒక్కసారి స్మైల్ ఇవ్వండి. You can feel lot of change in your life. Okay. So
Yes.
that's about
Yes,
Trypanosoma gambians. As it completes its life cycle in two hosts, it is also digenetic. Then another one, leishmaniasis. Leishmaniasis. And in these two types are there: visceral leishmaniasis, cutaneous leishmaniasis. What do you mean by viscera? and cutaneous.
Internal organs.
Viscerous,
Internal organ is cutaneous and
cutaneous is the
Cutaneous.
epidermis, the
If
outer
the
layer.
internal organs are attacked by a parasite, then by this Leishmania parasite, it is a protozoan. If it attacks liver, spleen, such internal organs, it will cause visceral leishmaniasis, and that visceral leishmaniasis is Kala Azar. Kala Azar or dum-dum fever. Dum-dum fever. This is caused by the parasite Leishmania donovani. Species change. This will multiply in our internal organs. It enters by the bite of an insect. It enters by the bite of an insect, sand fly. Its life cycle occurs in the sand fly partly and partly in human. Phlebotomous. Phlebotomous is commonly called sand fly. Okay? And this is vector borne. It causes visceral leishmaniasis. It is a blood-sucking insect. By the bite, this parasite, protozoan, Leishmania donovani, enters into human body. Then another one is there, Leishmania tropica. It causes cutaneous leishmaniasis, where on the skin, big boils will develop. You can't see, so ugly they will be. I will show the pictures of the affected persons later. It is called Delhi boils or Tashkent ulcers or Oriental sores. Even for this, sandfly is the vector, intermediate host vector also. Right? So this is a short list of protozoan diseases. ఇంకొకటి ఉంది కానీ ఇప్పుడు రాదు ఇక్కడ మీకు 8th చాప్టర్ లో వస్తుంది టాక్సోప్లాస్మా అని. ఇది బ్రెయిన్ అటాక్ చేస్తుంది. హెచ్ఐవి పేషెంట్స్ have no immunity for parasites. Therefore, all parasites will say hello and cello into his body. That is a protozoan parasite. And normally we don't get this infection because we have resistance. HIV patients have very little immunity. They can't resist infections. They can have TB and many diseases. Now, let us proceed to Entamoeba histolytica. Entamoeba histolytica. Coming to meaning of the name. Ento, enteron. Inside the gut it lives. So ento or enteron refers to the gut.
Gut, ma'am.
Then amoeba, it can change the shape. Just if you say amoeba, it is a harmless free living animal in water, fresh water. It produces pseudopodia and it frequently changes the shape. Now it may be looking like this. After some time, it may be looking like this. Okay? Then histose, tissue.
True.
Lysis, breakdown, damage. So, meaning of this, it is amoeba-like animal living in the gut which causes tissue damage. It causes tissue damage and it causes the disease amoebiasis. Now, leishmania causes
Leishmaniasis.
ascaris causes
Ascaria.
filarial worm causes
Filariasis.
usually we use like this. But if I say amoebiasis is caused by amoeba,
No, ma'am.
Oh, ma'am.
is a harmless animal living in the water. It's not a parasite. Okay. So this amoebiasis is caused by entamoeba histolytica. This is a protozoan parasite. Then it lives inside our body. A parasite living inside is endoparasite. What is the opposite for this?
Ectoparasite.
Slow parasite.
Yeah. Can you say an example for
Head lice,
ectoparasite?
ma'am.
Lice.
Okay.
Leeches.
Anything else? Leeches,
Leech.
mosquitoes, female mosquitoes do not enter inside our body, but they suck the blood and cause harm by spreading some vector-borne diseases. Okay. So, an ectoparasite lives on the outer parts of the host. This entamoeba lives in our large intestine tissues. So, it targets large intestine wall. It lives in the wall of large intestine. A parasite living inside the body of the host is endoparasite. Okay. And it belongs to phylum Protozoa. Can anyone say kingdom?
Protista.
Kingdom.
Protista.
Yeah. It belongs to kingdom Protista, phylum Protozoa. Unicellular eukaryotic organisms are placed under, come on,
Protista.
Protista, ma'am.
okay. Now, it lives in the wall tissues, large intestine wall tissues. Suppose this is the wall, large intestine wall. You know, this large intestine, it has colon, cecum. You know parts? This part is cecum,
Yes, ma'am.
into which ileum, small intestine opens. And this part is colon. And the last part is rectum. Okay. Now, this wall, in this wall, it lives. In the tissues of this wall. The tissues, mucosa. ఎక్కడో వచ్చిందే మనకి mucosa.
Intestinal.
Gastric and intestinal
Fermentation.
mucosa, ma'am.
Yeah. What type of epithelium?
Columnar epithelium.
Columnar epithelium.
Very good. Very good. Be active like that. So this is that columnar epithelium in the wall. Any epithelium, there will be a tissue for supply of nutrients below it. What is that?
Connective tissue.
Connective tissue.
Because it is below this connective epithelium mucosa, that connective tissue layer is submucosa.
Submucous.
So it lives in the large intestine wall and targets mucosa and submucosa. And it does not penetrate inside this cell. It lives in the intercellular spaces. Okay? It won't enter inside. You take Plasmodium, it will live inside our RBC. But this lives in the intercellular parasite, lives in the intercellular spaces, that is in the matrix. So, ikkada ila untundi amoeba, entamoeba. And it causes damage to the large intestine wall tissues. It feeds on the large intestine tissues and causes damage. That's why histolytica term. So as it lives in the tissue intercellular spaces, it is histozoic parasite or intercellular parasite. So an endoparasite which targets large intestine wall tissues. Now, what is the general method for entry of a parasite into gut?
Mouth and
Food, ma'am.
contaminated food.
Mouth.
Yeah.
Food, ma'am.
Contaminated food and water.
It infects human body by taking contaminated food and contaminated water. So, most parasites find easy entry into the gut, that is the enteron or alimentary canal, by taking contaminated food and water. Okay? That is mode of transmission. Like typhoid Mary, if the cooks have amoebiasis, they can also contaminate. కాకపోతే అమీబియాసిస్ మేరీలు కానీ ఇంకెవరు ఇంకా లేరు ప్రస్తుతానికి. అంటే అంత పాపులర్ అవ్వలేదు టైఫాయిడ్ మేరీ లాగా. Now, house flies, cockroaches. Can they contaminate food?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
These will carry the pathogens from the septic tanks to the food in the night time in the kitchen. Then houseflies feed on feces. If a man excretes the feces in the open grounds, then they spread it to the food. So these are mechanical vectors, but you should not say vector borne. A mechanical vector simply mechanically transfers. In it, life cycle of the parasite does not occur. Don't call this as vector borne.
Ma'am, so
Now-
these are carriers, ma'am.
No, carrier is infected and they carry to food here. But you should not use the word carriers. Mechanically, they are carrying. But carrier, I said, they are having the parasite in them, but they don't suffer. They
Okay.
spread. This is an agent. Mechanically carrying. Okay? But don't use the word vector borne. Now let's see life cycle of this parasite. Now this entamoeba histolytica, the structure briefly. The outer covering cell membrane is plasma lemma. ఎక్కడన్నా వచ్చిందమ్మా?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Plasma
ma'am.
membrane, another
Plasma
name.
membrane.
Then this is the cytoplasm. And it can move with the help of pseudopodia. Like amoeba, it can move with the help of pseudopodia. At this anterior end, so this entamoeba moves with the help of a blunt finger-like projection at the anterior end. This is called pseudopodium, which is lobe-like. Single pseudopodium ఉంటుంది మూవింగ్ ఎండ్ లో, finger-like. Nothing but pseudopodia, finger-like with blunt end. This is plasma lemma. Then this is the cytoplasm. Then there are no mitochondria for entamoeba. No mitochondria for entamoeba. Then how it can get energy?
Through the host tissue.
Aerobic response.
Host.
హోస్ట్ ఆక్సిజన్ ఇస్తే సరిపోతుందా? దానికి మైటోకాండ్రియా
Anaerobic.
ఉంటేనే కదా నాన్న హోస్ట్
Anaerobic.
నుంచి ఆక్సిజన్ వస్తుంది. నీది రెస్పైర్ చేయడానికి మైటోకాండ్రియా ఉంటేనే కదా.
Anaerobic respiration.
Anaerobic
Yes.
respiration.
ఆక్సిజన్ ఇచ్చిన మైటోకాండ్రియా లేకపోతే ఏం చేస్తుంది? anaerobic respiration. Then there is a nucleus in the center which looks like a cart wheel. బులక్ cart wheel చూసారా ఎప్పుడైనా?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So much of the chromatin will be like this. Then in the center nucleolus will be there, and the nucleoplasm looks like strands like this. So it looks like cartwheel. It looks like cartwheel. Okay. So such a cartwheel like nucleus is characteristic. I'll draw here. Nuclear membrane. This is the chromatin. Much of the chromatin is seen below the nuclear membrane, and it looks like granules like this. Then in the center nucleolus, and the nucleoplasm is like strands, like this, spokes of a bullock cart. Bullock cart wheel lo spokes etluntai cycle kan. Ala cart wheel like nucleus. Then very important and identification for this entamoeba. It feeds on bacteria, Escherichia coli, that are there in the large intestine, and specifically it is in the submucosa where blood vessels are there. It can damage the blood vessels and feed on RBCs. Okay, it can feed on RBCs. So the food vacuoles in it contain ingested RBCs. Okay, and this stage, which feeds on the large intestine wall tissues, is called trophozoite. Troph meaning food. It is called trophozoite. It is a feeding stage. It will cause damage to the wall of the intestine. So, it is disease causing stage, harmful stage. A harmful stage is called pathogenic stage. It is a harmful pathogenic stage. Okay? And where does it live?
In submucous large intestine.
Yeah, in the wall of large intestine. Then it can divide or reproduce asexually by multiple fission. It can reproduce asexually by multiple fission is wrong, binary fission. ఎక్కడ చదవలేదా మీరు ఎంటమీబా గురించి?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, don't worry. If it is plasmodium, multiple fission antam. So, there is no sexual reproduction. It can reproduce asexually by binary fission. At least binary fission meaning telsa?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yeah. It divides by mitosis into two daughter cells. Okay. So nucleus, cytoplasm divide by mitosis and two daughter individuals are formed. Okay. It forms two daughter individuals. These daughter individuals, some of them start attacking the large intestine wall and grow into trophozoites. Okay. Means back. It will multiply in the wall, keep on producing the younger generations for destruction. Pathogens, they divide faster, they increase population faster to cause the disease. మనకి న్యాచురల్ చెక్ అన్నమాట డిసీజెస్. పాపులేషన్ పెరిగినప్పుడు ఇలా డిసీజెస్ చెక్ చేస్తుంటాయి. నెక్స్ట్, సమ్ ఆఫ్ దెమ్ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ ఇంటూ a non-feeding stage. Some of them transform into a non-feeding stage. It will leave the wall of the intestine. అంటే ఈ వాల్ లోంచి వచ్చేస్తుంది ఇక్కడికి క్యావిటీలోకి. And it doesn't feed, doesn't move. This stage is called pre-cystic stage. What is that stage called? Pre-cystic stage. And in it, reserve foods ఉంటాయి, glycogen reserves. Then there are dark stainable rods like structures seen in this. These are called chromatoid bodies. Chrome meaning color. They contain proteins and RNA. So this has all the reserves because it's not feeding, it has to settle. This stage is pre-cystic stage. What do you understand from pre?
Before.
Before.
What is pre-final exam?
Before the final exam.
Exam before a final exam.
Yeah. So this is going to change into a stage called cyst. It produces, it becomes spherical like this, and it makes a tough covering around it, a protein tough covering, which protects it from unfavorable conditions. So it slowly transforms into cystic stage. In this cystic stage, this nucleus divides 2 times. Cytoplasm does not divide. Nucleus only divides. Then how many nuclei will form?
4.
Yes. So it has 4 nuclei. Such a cyst with 4 nuclei is called tetranucleate cyst or quadru meaning
4, ma'am.
all this is happening in the cavity of large intestine. All this happens in the cavity of large intestine, and these cysts come out through feces. These cysts come out through feces. So they leave the large intestine, pass out through feces. Then the transmission is fecal-oral route. It can contaminate food. The contamination occurs because of insects like houseflies, then cockroaches. Then if a person does not maintain hygiene, the nails may carry these cysts to food. Cooks can contaminate. So that's how food can be contaminated. And water contamination, you know, if open grounds, feces are eliminated, if they contain pathogens, whenever it rains, they are carried into the reservoirs. Then, so through contaminated food and water, now it enters into, come on, it enters into, yes, goes to
Stomach.
then small intestine. In the small intestine, there is an enzyme, trypsin. It will digest this cyst wall. Okay. Then the entamoeba comes out of the cyst. Entamoeba comes out of the cyst. The cyst is dissolved. Then, when the cyst is dissolved, the entamoeba comes out. This entamoeba, which is coming out, has how many nuclei? 4 nuclei.
4, ma'am.
It is called meta. Meta ante next. Metacyst. It is called metacyst. Okay. Now it is in the large intestine. The nuclei will divide again. Nuclei will divide again. అప్పుడు ఎన్ని వస్తాయి?
8, ma'am.
8 వస్తాయి. Then, now they share mother's cytoplasm. ఏమి కొట్టుకోకుండా నువ్వు కొంచెం నేను కొంచెం అని మదర్ సైటోప్లాజంని షేర్ చేసుకుంటారు. ఇప్పుడు 8 డాటర్స్ వస్తాయి. Now fresh host is ready. Healthy human సో మనకి బోల్డ్ అంత ఫుడ్ దొరుకుతుంది ఇక్కడ. 9 వేసాం కదా. ఓకే, సో 4 న్యూక్లియై మళ్ళీ డివైడ్ అయితే 8 వస్తాయి. 8 will share the cytoplasm and now 8 daughters are ready. అంటే ఒక్క సిస్ట్ ఎంటర్ అయితే ఎన్ని డాటర్స్ వస్తాయి?
8, ma'am.
10. If 10 cysts enter,
80, ma'am.
yes, this is how it can multiply again soon after entering into a fresh host. Okay, so this is how it completes its life cycle. These daughters go to the large intestine wall and damage the wall and grow into trophozoites. Again, the same life cycle continues. This is how it spreads from one person to another person through contaminated food and water. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Then, coming to the harm caused by this parasite. The harm caused by this parasite. It is damaging the wall of large intestine. It is feeding on our RBC and the tissues of large intestine wall. So, akkada chala tissue damage jarugutundi. Okay? And it can cause abdominal pain. It can cause abdominal pain. It can cause loose motions, diarrhea with pain, dysentery antam. That's why this is called amoebic dysentery. And if you heat or boil the water, if at all cysts are there, they can be killed. And actually, cyst is resistant. If a person excretes them in open grounds, they can survive in the soil for many days because cyst protects. Then, after they multiply, these trophozoites keep on multiplying by binary fission, and their numbers increase and cause damage to the wall of the intestine. That causes motion sometimes frequent, అంటే ఒక 2 days continuous motions అవుతాయి, తర్వాత కాన్స్టిపేషన్ ఉండొచ్చు. సిమ్టమ్స్ చేంజ్ ఫ్రమ్ పర్సన్ టు పర్సన్. కొంతమందికి ఎంటమీబా ఉన్న హామ్ ఏమీ ఉండదు, ఏ సిమ్టమాటిక్ క్యారియర్స్ అవుతారు వాళ్ళు. Some people, they may have entamoeba in their body. They, due to immunity, they don't suffer, but they can transport pathogens through their feces. Asymptomatic carriers antam వాళ్ళని, just like typhoid Mary. Okay, but there is no amoebic dysentery Mary so far reported. Then, so large intestine wall damage అవుతుంది, అల్సర్స్ ఫామ్ అవచ్చు అక్కడ. Then sometimes blood vessels in the submucosa are damaged because it is feeding on RBC. There may be blood in the stool. Blood in the stool is not always confirmation for amoebiasis. Keep it in mind. Some people have piles. Piles ఉన్న వాళ్ళకు కూడా blood పడుతుంది. So, you have to diagnose the disease based on the symptoms. అంటే యాక్చువల్గా ఫీసెస్ టెస్ట్ రాస్తారు, బట్ దట్ ఈస్ నాట్ అడ్వైజ్డ్ నవ్ డేస్. నో ఎగ్జామినర్ వాచ్, lab technicians generally not interested to examine feces and not compulsory therapy. Plus, you can't give the entire motion for test. A small sample is tested under the microscope. It may not be seen. Okay, so ఒకప్పుడైతే stool test is a diagnosis where you can find tetranucleases in the feces and blood in stool, lot of mucus, gummy stools anamata with blood. Okay, and sometimes these will enter hepatic portal vein These parasites enter hepatic portal vein and they go for tourism in our body. అబ్బా ఎప్పుడు లార్జ్ ఇంటెస్టైన్ లోనే ఏముంటాంలే అని కొన్ని ట్రోఫోజైట్స్ ఇలా వెళ్ళిపోతాయి, బ్లడ్ లోకి వెళ్ళి అక్కడి నుంచి లివర్ కి, లివర్ లో సెటిల్ అవ్వచ్చు. ఆర్ దే మే గో టు హార్ట్, కిడ్నీస్, బ్రెయిన్ కూడా వెళ్తాయి. ఓకే, that is secondary amoebiasis అంటారు. అంటే if the person does not take proper medication, then this can happen. Secondary amoebiasis then. Okay, that's about entamoeba life history. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
study perfectly. If doubts are there, we will discuss and we'll proceed to plasmodium tomorrow. Don't think that I'm going to stop teaching. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.